department. So obviously very well throughout the community, and it's that kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, I was blanking. It's that kind of dedication and spirit um, that really put all this together. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce my CEO, Sean Pennington.
Hey, thank you, everybody. Joel, come on, have a seat with me. So this is Joel with PureTalk Wireless and Business. That might be me. So, Joel, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? I know you just came in from
Greenville, South Carolina.
Greenville, South Carolina. So a lot of Clemson over there, right?
A lot of different color orange over there. Yeah, we don't hold that against us. So.
All right.
Yeah, real quick intro. So I am what's called the channel chief at PureTalk Business. We'll get into it, but PureTalk is a mobility provider. We're actually the largest MVNO to have a technical term, mobile virtual network operator, for the AT&T network. That's just a fancy word for saying we resell their network. So I run their business division. We have a consumer division and a business division, and I run that business division. So excited to be here with you all. Thank you for taking the time, and look forward to meeting some of you all after this.
So Joel, thank you for defining what an MVNO is, because I didn't know what one was until about 3 days ago. I'd never heard the term. So what is it that, why would somebody buy from an MVNO or an AT&T reseller?
Yeah. So there's a lot of reasons that we'll get into why PureTalk specifically, but if you look at the landscape, the large carriers, your AT&T, Verizons, and T-Mobiles, they've been around so long and they have a stronghold on that business that they kind of do whatever they want. For instance, pushing their customer service offshore, or basically just saying, hey, you're kind of at our mercy. As an MVNO or reseller of their network, we do not get deprioritized on the AT&T network. So you'll get the exact same experience that you would get if you were on the AT&T network, without the price and without the headache. So again, we'll dig into it a little bit more, but we have 100% US-based customer service. And so we have the flexibility to do things that those large carriers can't or won't do. They're more focused on the profit piece. We're more focused on the customer service and customer experience piece.
So can you expound on that a little bit? Who is PureTalk?
Yep. So PureTalk there's a parent company called Tellrite that owns PureTalk. Started back in 2000. So we've been around for quite a while. Always had a relationship with AT&T. And to be honest, anybody can go start an MVNO. You could go to AT&T's website and you could spin up an MVNO tomorrow if you wanted to. However, there's one thing that really makes us different versus a lot of other MVNOs. One, it's the relationship that we have with AT&T. And to be honest, it's the amount of money we spend with AT&T. So we write a check to AT&T for $12 million a month to be able to access their network at a premium service level. For a lot of MVNOs, if you started an MVNO tomorrow, you'd work up in order to be able to provide a specific discount on their pricing. We went in at the top tier and said, look, we want to be able to provide an excellent service on the AT&T network while also then providing a great customer experience at the same time. So that's something that's a little bit unique about us. We've been around for over 25 years. The PureTalk name has been around for about 5 or 6 years, and the PureTalk business name for about 2.
Very cool. So one of the things in our discussions that really interested me was that, like MSPs, a lot of MSPs will give you a single package and that's what you've got. You don't have any choices. Other cell companies, they give you like 10 different packages, but you're pretty much locked into whatever they give you. Now, we personally try to meet clients where they're at, but in our discussions, you indicated that you guys can kind of customize and mix and match things. Can you tell me, how does that work? I mean, is it just with plans? Is it, how many minutes they get a month, how much data? And we'll get into the fact that data is king here
Yes,
for you.
absolutely. So we offer something that's a little bit unique in our space. For a long time, a lot of the carriers offered pooled data. So you could take up to 100 devices and put them on one of our pooled plans. So I just did something the other day for a guy who owns a couple storage units, and he's like, I don't need a lot of data. They really just need to talk and text, but I need them to have some data. So they did a 10 gig data plan across 9 phones, and they share all that data, and then it's $15 a month to add a phone to that plan to share that data. So we have pooled data plans, and then we have we just changed our data plans for the better. So we used to offer 3, now we offer about 7 that goes all the way up to 100 gigs of high-speed data. And a unique thing about us is we don't overcharge you if you go over your data plan. Everybody these days has unlimited minutes and text, so that's not really a thing that you have to keep up with. But from a data perspective, we will throttle the service. But the great thing about us is if you reach your cap, you have the ability to move up and down between the plans as you need to. So Adam and I were just talking about something, and he said, man, I need to get a 5G hotspot from you guys. Tell me, like, how much would that cost me? And I'm not going to use it all the time and whatever. And I said, well, great. You can just downgrade it to the $5 a month plan and let it sit there while you're not really using it. And then when you're out and about and you need to travel, you can move up to the $20 plan or whatever it may be. So we really try to offer flexibility to people. We don't require contracts, which again is another big thing. I will put a caveat on that. If you buy a device from us and finance it, or you take a subsidy against it, then we do put you on a contract there. But if you bring your own devices, all that sort of stuff, we don't put anybody on a contract. So you have the flexibility to move up and down between our plans as it makes sense for you and what really meets your needs.
So I've got Verizon, and I'm not unhappy with them, but they've got unlimited plans that basically they throttle you at like 10 or 20 gigs. Do I actually need to be worried about that? What's the average that most people use? And granted, I hotspot and I remote into people's computers, and
Sure.
I do all that tech geek stuff. But for the average person who's not like a super power user, what's the average data that they're going to use?
Yeah, so the average amount of data that an individual uses is around 10 or less gigabytes, and our base plan has 20 gigs in it. So where we really win, I do a lot of bill quotes for individuals focused on the business side. So I've seen a 300 line opportunity where they were paying $14,000 a month, and everyone was on an unlimited plan. And if you look at advertising for all of these large carriers, it's get a free iPhone 16 if you sign up for our ultra unlimited plan. I know for a fact that's Verizon's thing because I just talked about it the other day. But they want to push you into the unlimited plan knowing they're going to make more money off of it because you're not going to use anywhere close to the amount of data that they put in those packages. So what we do that's unique is we go in and we want you to have the plan that actually fits your needs. So I would say 70% of the people that move to PureTalk go on our base plan because they don't really need more than that. But if you do, we had somebody the other day, a quote for a car dealership that was about 70 lines, and we put everybody but 2 people on that base $30 plan. These 2 other people were using 70 gigs and 80 gigs. So we put them on a pooled plan, just the 2 of them, and gave them like 200 gigs to use between the 2 of them, and then they were paying $15. They paid for the data and then $15 a line. So that's the great thing about us is we're going to work with you to figure out what your needs are, not try to sell you something you don't need.
Now, you touched on an interesting point there, is, and you and I discussed this a little bit the other day, is that data is king. Voice stuff is the de facto standard. And I remember when I was 18, I'm going to date myself a little bit, I remember getting a Motorola phone, and I got 150 minutes.
Yep.
And I don't think there was even text messaging available. I remember later on, I had friends in college, they're like, oh my gosh, somebody text messaged me, and it cost me like 10 cents.
Yep.
And I was like, why are you getting billed for somebody else sending you a text message? It never seemed right or fair to me, but the cell phone companies were doing that. And I think my next phone was like 300 minutes, and then the next one was a 600. And then I got one of those, my fave plan, where you could call unlimited to the people in your fave plan.
Right.
But after that, if you called somebody else, you were counting minutes.
Yeah.
And so voice is now a de facto standard. You get unlimited minutes. They don't worry about it, but data is king, is how you put it. And the plans, the unlimited, the 10 gig, 20 gig, most of that sounds like it's not really, the unlimited isn't necessary if you're just going to use the average. How does PureTalk go in and help prospective clients take a look at their plans and figure out what's going to be work out best for them as they look at transitioning to a new provider?
Yeah, so I have two guys on my team that all they do is review bills and work with partners like Sean and his team to, Sean would interact with a business with one of you all and give him a copy of the bill. He sends it to us. One of the guys on my team looks through it and then gives back a quote. And typically what we will do is say, here is a in-kind bill, like a bill review, and then we'll give something suggested. So I was doing one the other day and somebody was at 19.5 gigs on average. And I said, I don't think you should put them on our $30 20 gig plan. You should probably put them on the $45 40 gig plan, just because you don't want to have that headache of like, I'm so close to 20 gigs every month. If I go over, then I've got to move up and down between the plan. So we really try to, again, do what's best for customers and match them up with a plan. But we also want it to make sense. We don't want you to have to watch your data. But like 2 minutes ago, I just went and asked Adam, what's the Wi-Fi here? Like, I work for a mobility provider and I'm constantly connecting to Wi-Fi. And so that's what we see. That's why most people use sub 10 gigs per month. And it usually is around 3 to 7 gigs is what we see most people using, especially from a business perspective, because a lot of them are in the office or they're with a customer or something like that and they're connecting to Wi-Fi. So that's been the big differentiator.
Say, I'm going to put a little spot out here for security because I rarely ever connect to anybody's Wi-Fi unless it's absolutely necessary. So I'm hotspotting my phone on a regular basis to run applications through and make sure that it's secure on top of the VPN, just because I'm a security nut. But I can understand how most people are going to save a lot of data doing that, and if they're just streaming YouTube or something, then all the better for them, and they don't have to worry about their data. It's interesting, and my phone just locked on me here. So, can you share with us a story about how PureTalk, like, not just price point wise, but just from a client satisfaction or customer satisfaction standpoint, give me a story of how you guys just went way above and beyond and just wowed somebody.
Yeah. So our typical customer is in the SMB space. That's really who we target. Some of you all may have actually seen some of our ads on TV. We advertise on Fox News. We advertise through conservative talk radio and TV. Regardless of your thoughts on that piece of it, we do some advertising out there. And what we learned through our consumer brand was there's a lot of guys out in the car who HVAC companies, lawn care companies, construction companies, and they were calling us and saying, hey, do you guys have a business plan? And so eventually PureTalk Business was born. So we really cater to that SMB 5 to 100 line opportunity. And then I say we expand up into about 500 lines. So 5 to 500 is kind of the sweet spot. So I'll tell you a story to answer your question about an individual that only had 3 lines. So this will give you an example of how we work with customers, even on a small, super small scale. So we were working with a partner like Sean. They work with a lot of franchises. This guy had just purchased a franchise, and he said, hey, I got to get these iPads up and running by the end of the week. Well, he ordered some iPads, which you can order phones and iPads and things from us, Apple devices and Samsung devices, but he decided to go buy them off Amazon, which is completely fine. We have no problem with that. They showed up a day late, so he was already a day behind in trying to get this done. And he called us and he was like, what can I do? Well, we had sent him some physical SIMs. So we have physical SIMs and eSIMs, which is an electronic SIM. And I said, look, why don't I change the order to be an electronic SIM? Those are instantaneous. This is about 9:30 in the morning. I sent him the quote. He accepted it. And when you get a shipping notification from us, you go in and you click a button that says, book your white glove onboarding with PureTalk. And so all of our customer service is US based, and you'll get on the phone with somebody and they'll walk you through setting up your phone. our system is set to not allow you to book a same day appointment for a reason, so that we don't get blindsided. But I told him, just call our customer service number and someone will take care of you. So he accepted the quote, gave him the customer service number, and in about 15 minutes, he messaged me and said, cool, I'm up and running. And so from quote to actually getting activated was less than 30 minutes. So that's an example of how we're going to go to bat for our customers. And, you know, if you call another major carrier, you're probably going to get, hey, I'm such and such automated system. We don't have an automated system. Somebody picks up the phone and talks with you.
That's great. And we're going to talk about the US-based customer service here in a second. But a story that I just recently upgraded my phone because Samsung decided to introduce their wonderful AI to my older phone that more or less bricked it. And so I went into the store and said, hey, I need a new phone. They said, oh, great. We're happy to sell you a new phone. I said, great. I don't want it activated immediately because I've got to run and pick up my daughter and my grandma is getting ready to pass away. And they said, okay. I'm getting ready to walk out the door, cell phone in hand. All of a sudden, my old cell phone stops working. And I was like, did you guys activate my new phone? They're like, well, yeah, that's what happens when you get a new phone. I was like, I've got to pick up my daughter from soccer practice. I really don't have time to get this fixed. And so I walk out the door. I'm on the way to pick up my daughter, and I get a text message, or a RCS message that says, hey, your grandma's passed away. We're still waiting on details on the funeral. Now, this is a group message to my entire family. Next thing I know, my brother, my sister, my dad, they're all texting into this group chat. I can see it, but I can't text back. I'm the oldest sibling, and I can't console my mom. So I'm texting my mom individually, but I look like the black sheep of the family all of a sudden because I'm this son that doesn't care. And I had to tell everybody, look, I was texting mom, you know, I swear I was texting mom, but I couldn't join the group chat. And they're like, oh, okay, you know, and we've got a good relationship. So everybody understood, but it was really frustrating to walk in, tell them exactly what I needed, and walk out with nothing working properly. It took me another 2 days through tech support to get it fixed. I was talking to a lady, but we're going to call her Bob because Bob always picks up the phone, right? When you call these big multinational companies, and half the time you can't understand Bob. And they worked with me, but it took 2 days to get that fixed. And funny enough, they had to put me into an eSIM in order to fix it.
Yep.
And so the one thing that drives me nuts, and I've got to work with Microsoft on a regular basis, or our team has to. I don't do so much of that anymore. But we work with Microsoft, and it's always Bob who answers the phone. And sometimes Bob's got a really thick accent. I can't imagine for the general public how that feels. Over many years of dealing with Microsoft and others that bring in multinational employees, the accents are sometimes so thick. I can't imagine how somebody who isn't used to talking with them can understand them. And sometimes I even have to sit there and go, I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Like, I'm pretty good, and I can understand a lot of thick accents, but I just didn't catch that.
Yep.
So you said US-based support. What does that look like? Because
Yes.
I like that idea.
Yeah, it is. We have 2 call centers, one in Phoenix, Arizona, and we're headquartered in Covington, Georgia. And so Marietta, Georgia is not too far away. And so we have a call center there. And so all US based, you know, from 8 in the morning till 10 at night is when you can get customer service from us during the week. And then on the weekends as well, our hours are a little more truncated, but you can still get somebody. And so another thing that I talk about is I tell people, well, if you want to see how good we are, test our customer service, call them and hang up. Don't actually let anyone pick up and see what happens. Within 2 minutes, someone will call you and they will say, hey, I saw that you called PureTalk. Is there something we can help you with? So not only are we 100% US based. We're proactive. And that's one of the great things. We have dedicated customer service, but we also have dedicated customer service on the business side, which means those customer service reps only handle business cases. And so they know how to take care of those specific things that might be an issue. And I'll give you an example. We were working with a major university, rhymes with ale, and we were helping them with some phones, and they had some old phones, and it was more of a their problem than us problem. But we were on the phone with them multiple times in order to get, it was about 70 lines, to get these 70 lines up and running by a specific date. And so like our customer service team was messaging me and saying, hey Joel, I just talked with so-and-so over there, here's what they had to say. And so that's a great thing about us is we're a small but mighty team, and we communicate with each other internally. We're not this massive organization where you can't find anyone. So
That's great. And you did not mention to me while we've been in all these discussions that they'll actually call us back.
yeah.
Now, one of my big complaints is a business owner that pays for a business service is that I have business hours, which means that if I don't call my cell provider from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., I won't be able to get a hold of them. So if my cell phone has a connection on the weekend or at 7 o'clock at night, I'm stuck until the next business day. Now, we discussed this, but what are your hours Monday through Friday? What are your hours on the weekends? Because I like those.
Yeah, absolutely. So 8 in the morning till 10 p.m. at night on the weekdays, and then on the weekends it's 10 to 6. And so like we still have hours on the weekends where you guys can connect with somebody, because even though it's business hours, we realize things happen on the weekend and people work on the weekends. So when you need help, you want to be able to reach somebody. So yeah, we do offer that support as well.
Now, when we're talking about other cell phone companies, I have these like Joe Pesci Lethal Weapon moments, and so sometimes over the history, I've had a cell phone from just about every major provider, even the ones who are no longer around and been bought and sold. But it always comes across like they're happy to grab your money, but they're not happy to give you the support, the service, or they stick you with this contract, or you have to buy certain phones. I mean, there's all sorts of little nuances that it seems like every single provider out there puts in front of the client or the customer and says, well, here's basically what you have to do. You guys are not really only Apple. You can do Samsung. What other devices can you do? I mean, you mentioned they got iPads off of Amazon. What else can we buy off Amazon?
Yeah, you can buy pretty much anything you want. If it's an IoT device, we just want to make sure that we're compatible with it. But back to the thing of data is king. We were working with a guy who had a bunch of routers for another storage facility company, and they would put the router out so that they could connect via Wi-Fi. And so he popped our SIMs in, and they worked great without having to really fix any of the APN settings or anything like that. So a lot of devices will work plug and play. Sometimes you may have to fix some of the settings, but today we sell Apple devices, phones, and tablets, and then we sell Samsung. We have another Android kind of low-end device if you just need something inexpensive. But we also do Apple Watches, so you can get Apple Watches from us and Apple Watch service. For us, for you all that own a business, you probably know there's still not a lot of money in hardware. Like hardware has become a commodity. So for us, we don't personally care where you get the device from. As long as it's unlocked, we're good to go. So you can buy them from us if you want, or you can go to Amazon or wherever you want and get them. As long as they're unlocked, you're good to go.
So if I want a Motorola Razr flip phone because I want the coolest thing out there, I can just bring it to you guys as long as it's unlocked.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. I don't really want a Razr,
Yeah.
but
I had one of those back when they were hot 20 years ago.
so let's approach some of the headaches, and hopefully you guys have got some Tylenol for the headaches or some aspirin. We won't get into too many brand names here. But what if a client is concerned about switching? Like, let's talk signal strength. I know for a fact that our sales guy has like a dead zone between his house and the office that's about 10 minutes long. And he basically says, hey, if you can show me that it works, I will be happy to buy the cell phone from you. How do you, what's Tylenol for his headache there?
Yeah, so we have no problem sending out trial sims. In fact, right as I was walking up here, I was texting somebody or sending an email, getting a trial sim approved for somebody. So we want you to move because you want to be with us, and we want you to stay with us. So we have less than 2% churn rate, which is pretty good for a mobility company. And so once people move to us, they tend to stay with us. So again, you do not get deprioritized on the AT&T network. So it's the same experience you'd have with AT&T from a network perspective. But you may be with Verizon or T-Mobile today, and let's say you're a business owner that owns an HVAC company, and you've got guys that are going all over the place. We're happy to send you a trial sim to pop in a device and test it. Most devices today will take a dual sim. So if you're with Verizon, you can run your Verizon sim, and then you can also run our sim alongside it and just switch back and forth. So if somebody wants to test it out, we're happy to send a 30-day trial sim for them to test it out. No cost, just try it out.
So I'm going to define a term because it's not necessarily a cell phone term, but churn is essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's essentially when people move in as a client and then they drop out and move somewhere else. I know I worked for a cell phone company years ago, so I know some of the terms, but we're doing this for the non-tact, and I want to make sure we define everything.
You got it.
So that's what churn is. Now, there's some cool stuff that you guys have got coming down the pipe, and I know some stuff you can't really talk about, but some of it's really cool, and we're going to be taking advantage of some of it for us. But share, I've heard fiber, I've heard mobile backup, I've heard a number of different things. So can you tell us what type of tricks you guys have got still? Play Santa Claus for us?
Sure. So PureTalk built a huge brand on the consumer side, and consumer is way different than business. So as I've gotten on board and talked through what other things do we need to offer in order to create a suite of products for business owners, some of the things that have come up and things that we're working on, and I have a tablet and a phone over there on the table, is offering device as a service. And so we work with a company called Social Mobile, and the plan is to provide a tablet and or a phone, and I don't have the price point right at the moment, but let's say it's $35 a month, and you get unlimited talk and text, and then you get data on that plan as well with break fix, and then MDM, which stands for mobile device management, which really is if you have multiple devices, you want to have an MDM platform to manage those devices. If a tech leaves, you want to get that device back from him, wipe it, and turn it back around to the next guy. So that's what mobile device management means. So we're planning to roll that out in the not too distant future. We do have a new 5G hotspot that should be coming out the first week of July. So that should be available soon. And then because we are the largest MVNO for AT&T, we've had some conversations with them about offering MiFi both on the consumer side and then on the business side. And MiFi is essentially that cube that you see that Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile are pushing, and you put in your home, and you have 5G service versus a hardline service like a Spectrum or somebody like that. I don't know who's out here in Tennessee, but we are also then looking at AT&T Fiber to be able to offer that along with the business services that we have. And then one last thing that we're working on, this is brand new, but I think this could be a game changer, is offering a multi-carrier data SIM along with our voice plan. What that means is you would run on the AT&T network for voice, but let's say, to your point, hey, how do I know if coverage is good? Well, we would have a SIM card that would essentially pick the best service available, whether it's AT&T, T-Mobile, or Verizon, and would search for the best signal for data and make sure that you get the best coverage no matter where you are.
And we actually, not with you guys, obviously, because you guys aren't doing it yet, but we've actually got a vendor that we work with for that same exact thing, for those MiFi devices, where, and it's a healthcare provider, that they can take it wherever they're going, whatever home that they're visiting, and be able to make sure that they've got some type of Wi-Fi signal, even out in the middle of the sticks, where It may be Verizon, it may be AT&T, it may be T-Mobile, but you don't know who you're going to be able to access. And if you're stuck to one carrier, that can be very problematic for those healthcare workers who have to write notes and whatnot in there. There's one thing, and we've got about 1 minute left in this, but there's one thing that I want to point out that I really like. You guys offer those trial packages, and it occurred to me that when I go into Verizon, when I've gone into AT&T, it's amazing that when you look at their phones, they've got 5 bars. And then you go quarter mile down the road, and all of a sudden you've got 2 bars. It's funny because I went from the Verizon store in Oak Ridge over to the high school to pick up my daughter from soccer, and I had 5 bars there. And I've seen this before, so it's no surprise. But then I got to the high school, and I had like 2 bars. And cell phone service works just fine. But it's really funny that, they give you a free trial in store, but of course it's going to work flawlessly. They've got a Verizon whatever antenna right there. So I really like the fact that you guys allow prospective clients or customers to be able to give it a test run and see where it's going, because you never know where you're going to be dropping a call at. We had T-Mobile years ago. They've improved their network since, but haven't tried that out. But there was like 3 different spots along Pellissippi Parkway that I could guarantee that I was going to drop a call almost every time. So I'd be driving down going, hey, I have to call you back. I'm about to drop the call. And it seemed to me very unprofessional, but I had no other choice. I was stuck in a 2-year contract, right? And so when I went to renew, they said, well, renew and we're going to get that fixed. I said, no, you're going to fix it before I renew. So I really like the fact that you guys will allow people to trial the phone, test it out, and basically drive it around and figure out, where you usually go. If you're usually dropping calls at Walmart, you need to be able to call your husband or wife and say, hey, do we need eggs? You'd want to be able to actually make that phone call and have it work. So, Joel, I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sponsoring PureTalk Business, and we love you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you all.
Those who are looking for brewery tours, right now is the time to go ahead and get one. If you'll go around to the back over there, they've got a 10-minute brewery tour for us, and then after the next event, we'll do the same thing. And apparently, Adam, our CMO, has something to say.
We got some food on its way. So as things happen in life, sometimes you got to pivot.